Om Dhyanamoolam Gurur Murti Puja Moolam Gurur Padam Mantra Moolam Gurur Vakyam Moksha Moolam Gurur Kripa Om. The first line of this chant says, meditate on the Guru's form. And this entire creation is Ishvara's form. His Maya Shakti is pulsating in every atom of this creation. So by meditating on Saguna Brahma, we gain a steady mind. The second line says, worship the Guru's feet. And the 5 basic elements, earth, water, fire, air and space, vibrating in both subtle and gross form, is the basis of this creation. This represents the Guru's feet. When all our thoughts, words and actions are in harmony with the law of Dharma, we are worshipping the Guru's feet. The third line says, the Guru's words are mantras, which is the teaching of our Shastra, Vedanta, Upanishad, the Gita. And by contemplating upon these mantras as Nirguna Brahma, we discover that we are Satchit Ananda Atma. And the fourth line says, the Guru's grace is liberation. By abiding to Ishvara's law of Dharma, his law of karma gives the result. This is Ishvara's grace, which liberates. Today, we are in chapter 6 entitled Dhyana Yoga, Meditation. It is a mental activity where we meditate and contemplate upon a chosen thought for a length of time. As karma yogis, having purified our minds from binding desires, we are ready to meditate on Saguna Brahma, Ishvara as the cause of this creation, to steady our mind, Antakarna Nishchalya. Having steadied our mind, then we are ready for contemplation, Nididhyasana, on Nirguna Brahma, Brahman without attributes, to discover that we are Satchit Ananda Atma, to gain liberation, moksha. Om Namah Shivaya, Episode 23, Chapter 6, verses 1 to 17. To meditate, we must renounce all action through knowledge. Verses 1 and 2 tells us that as karma sannyasa yogis, we are also sannyasis, as we have purified our minds by renouncing all our action, knowing that as Atma, we are not the doer. Knowing as Atma, we lack nothing. Our actions are not done for limited results, like gaining wealth, power, or even going to heaven. Verses 3 and 4 tells us that we know we must have a purified mind to meditate. So if we want to meditate, Aru Rukshor Munir Yoga, we must purify our mind and become a karma yogi. Karma yoga is the gateway for meditation and contemplation. And for this, we must develop complete dispassion and withdrawal from all activities. By knowing that Atma is actionlessness, then we become Yoga Aruda. As Yoga Aruda, we continue doing our prarabdha karmas by renouncing our sense of doership, because we know as Atma we are not the doer. As Yoga Aruda, we enjoy dispassion and contentment because our minds are resolved to meditate and discover that we are Satchit Ananda Atma. As Yoga Aruda, we are also Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasis. We have no sense of doership and enjoyership, because there is no notion that by doing this or doing that we are going to gain something more greater, or we are going to feel more secure. Giving up desires, passion and activity is simply the knowledge of discovering that we are Satchit Ananda Atma. We are Purnam. Our nature lacks nothing. Verses 5 and 6 tells us, as men of wisdom, we know that our body, mind, senses and will are both a friend and an enemy of Atma. So we must become a friend of ourselves to get out of this endless cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, we remain our enemy. We have to lift ourselves by ourselves, because Atma alone is our benefactor. Uttaret Atmana Atmana Atmaiva Atmano Bandhur. Living a prayerful life, appreciating Ishvara, this harmonizes our body, mind, senses. And when our body, mind, senses is in harmony, we'll be able to meditate and contemplate on the knowledge of Brahman. When we are in harmony with ourselves, we are friend to ourselves. We are vasis. We live happily in this 9-gated physical body, endowed with Ishvara's threefold Shakti. First is Ishvara's Jnana Shakti, the ability to listen, analyze and contemplate on the knowledge of Brahman. Number 2 is Ishvara's Ichcha Shakti, the power to desire, to work towards the purpose of human birth, that is moksha. And third is Ishvara's Kriya Shakti, the ability to do our duty, be a karma yogi, purify our mind and gain the knowledge of Brahman. So these 3 Shaktis are with us and we will be able to tap into them when we are karma yogis and become a friend to ourselves. Verse 7 tells us, when we are a friend to ourselves, we have mastery of oneself. Jita Atmana. Our mood does not swing. 1 minute happy, 1 minute sad. We are free from that swing. Number 2, our minds are tranquil. Prasantasya. We remain undisturbed in extreme condition of heat and cold, pain and pleasure, praise and criticism. Number 3, we are in a state of composure. Param Atma Samahitaha. As we do not internalize people's opinion, we allow people to comment according to their understanding. We remain composed. And verses 8 and 9 tells us, being composed, when we reach a state of completeness and satisfaction. It indicates that we have gained the knowledge of Brahman. Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. As we have mastery over our body, mind, senses, we have mastery of our senses of perception and powers of action. Vijit Indriya. We are now composed yogis, Yukta Yogi. We have the vision of sameness, Samabuddhihi. We see everyone, our benefactors, friends, people who consider us enemies, arbitrators, saints, sinners, as equal. Because we do not pass judgment on them. We see one Atma in all. Now we have reached the highest state, Vishishyate, the ultimate state. Vishishyate, we are accomplished. We know Atma is Brahman. And verses 10 to 14 that teaches us how to reach this state of ultimate bliss. Vishishyate. First, we must sit alone in a quiet, clean place on a firm, soft asana which is neither too high or too low, keeping our body, neck and head straight to avoid distraction. Second, we must relax our body and mind. Yata Chitta Atma. Third, we must be free from longing and possession. Nirasir Aparigraha. Now we are ready to meditate. The first step is we must constantly unite our mind with Ishvara. Yunjita Satatam Atmanam. By meditating on Ishvara's glories. In the last verse of chapter 5, Sri Krishna gave 3 glories of Ishvara. Ishvara is the sustainer of all rituals and disciplines. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. Ishvara is the Lord of all the worlds. Sarvaloka Maheshwara. Ishvara is a friend to all. Sruhidam Sarvabhutanam. And chapter 10, 42 verses are dedicated to the glories of Ishvara. And verse 31 tells us Ishvara is the purifier. The law of Dharma makes plant take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. And for human beings to take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide, thereby purify the atmosphere. So when we abide to the law of Dharma, we ensure that when we cut down a tree, we plant at least 10 trees, thereby ensuring that at least 1 or 2 trees will reach that state of maturity of the tree that we cut down. By abiding to this, we purify our mind. Now the second step is we must meditate daily as our duty to ourselves with a karma yogic attitude to steady our mind. So when we do this, then our mind gets purified. Atma Visuddhaye. Then we become tranquil. And the third step says, when our mind is tranquil, fear gets removed. When fear gets removed, duality has gone. We are no more meditating at the Prakriti level. We are now going to meditate at the Satyam level. Now all the glories that we meditated as Ishvara's glories are now going to be our glories. We are contemplating these glories as the glories of our Atma. This is because our ultimate aim is to reach Ishvara. Matchitta yukta astita matparaha. And verse 15 tells us, when we have meditated and contemplated in this orderly manner, we reach the highest state of bliss, param shanti. This is ultimate liberation, nirvanam paramam shanti. This is knowledge which has to be recognized. Verses 16 and 17 tells us, meditation is not for those who eat and sleep too much or too little. Meditation is for those who are moderate in their eating, sleeping, exercising, and other activities. When we are moderate, we are able to shift our attention, our vision from the outside world internally to contemplate upon the Atma within. That is why it is said, meditation removes sorrow. Yoga bhavati dukkha. People normally ask how long this spiritual journey takes. The fact is, right now we are Satchit Ananda Atma. But due to ignorance, we do not know. So this question is not valid. On the first day of our study, we are told we are not this body, mind, senses. We are Satchit Ananda Atma. And this will be the teaching every other day. When we have faith, unwavering trust in our Sastra, Shraddha, and do our duties for the purification of our mind, meditate to steady our mind, contemplate upon the knowledge of Brahman as our true self. One day, when our minds get purified, this knowledge that we are Satchit Ananda Atma will shine forth as our true nature. The Mahavakya Tattvamasi, we are, that becomes a reality to us. At verse 17, we shall take a break, and verse 18, we are going to see the condition of the mind of one who has gained certain composure. Vinyatam Chittam. So till then, Om Namah Shivaya.